Sometimes you just have to wonder what's going on at some developers. They have a good thing going with a particular franchise and for whatever reason, take a step backwards and screw things up. This is what happened with NBA 2K8, but just how far down the standings has it fallen? It's rare that a developer will actually delete modes from a yearly franchise, but that's exactly what's happened here. The 24/7 mode, where you'd create a young street baller and try to turn him into a playground playboy, has been axed. Granted, the story was always pure cheese and the voice acting even worse.
Dang! I think you busted my spleen, man!
But we were hoping this was the year they finally got it right. Guess not. In its place is the new Blacktop option, but it's basically just a new location where all the elements from the old 24/7 option are collected. These include pickup games, a 3-point shootout, 21, and the best of them all, the dunk contest. The more typical modes include the self-explanatory season, playoffs, and rookie challenge. Then there's the situation option, which places you squarely between a rock and a hard place and asks you to get out. The long-running franchise mode dubbed The Association has returned with a few tweaks, including player roles and dispositions that force you to look at much more than just stats. You also get salary cap management, no trade clauses, the risk of being fired, and a laundry list of other options that 90% of players will never bother to mess with. Toss in some incredible online play and you seemingly have a sports game with options out the ball rack. It's just a shame that the lone mode that was really pushing the envelope has been chopped.
You gonna let Shaq beat you in a free throw shooting contest?
The NBA 2K series has reigned supreme for quite a while at this point, but that's not to say that it hasn't had any issues. Statistical problems and AI burps have plagued the franchise for years, and sadly, some of them still remain. While you won't find yourself inbounding a ball to a player standing on the wrong side of the line any longer, these all-world NBA players can't seem to knock down layups and other wide-open shots in the lanes. There's also the issue of players going for extravagant up and unders instead of just going for the easy dunk or lay-in. Considering how many years players and critics have complained about these quirks, we might have to assume at this point that they can't be fixed without breaking the rest of the game. Otherwise, the gameplay's great, and yes, that's with tongue firmly in cheek. Additions to the gameplay include new post moves, improved player movement, the ability to control players away from the ball, and lockdown defense. The post moves and player movement are difficult to notice. However, the away from the ball play can be incredibly effective, especially if you're trying to peel off a defender with a screen. And then there's the defensive lock-on, which makes it virtually impossible for the computer to score, and takes most of the challenge out of the game. You still get the old standbys like calling plays and formations on the fly and signature moves from the game's biggest players. And you'll need them because NBA 2K8 has taken the ability to perform specific dribbles away from the player. Instead, you're now forced to jiggle the left analog stick and cross your fingers. NBA 2K8 would be a train wreck if it weren't built upon such a solid foundation. The post-game is still the best in the biz, the shooting feels just right, and sometimes the computer AI will do things that astound you. That said, the gameplay does take a definite step backwards this season. It's funny how quickly standards can change. A few years ago, we were marveling at the sweat and moving jerseys of NBA 2K6, and now it looks antiquated. We can tell you this because NBA 2K8 looks exactly like NBA 2K6. The players still look awful, particularly any player with hair, and for whatever reason, 2K has decided to butcher the slick presentation and menus from last year's game in favor of what looks like a database. All is not bad though. The number of animations just keeps piling up, and it makes a huge difference over the long haul. The way players interact with each other when play is stopped is easily the most realistic in the genre, and you'll discover little touches for days. The audio is solid, but it still falls prey to the typical sports games trappings, meaning repetitive color commentary or statements that don't match the action.
Almost a three-point opportunity.
At least, they included Run DMC's Sucker MCs on the soundtrack.
I'm an MC, you know who's
It's rare that a series takes a serious step backwards as NBA 2K8 has this season. It's missing modes and gameplay features from last year's game while adding subtle changes that few players will notice or make use of. Last year, the 2K series was the best round ball game on the market by a landslide. This year, it's dribbled the ball out of bounds with no defender in sight.
Hands up the triple. It's in.